Tableau 25.2 is coming soon. I lasted one day since my last video, and yeah, the new release is coming out. I kind of knew this would happen, and so in this video what we're going to do is go through the entire release feature by feature, but at the very beginning I'm just going to do like a bit of an overview and talk a little bit about what we're seeing here. It is great to see some features from Tableau conference that were showcased at Devs on Stage. As ever, let's get stuck in. Okay, so first and foremost, I'm so happy to be back just doing feature reviews. This is kind of what I started the channel doing, and I felt like in the last at least few months I've been mostly reacting to changes around Tableau Next and the Tableau ecosystem. Very necessary, but also not exactly the most exhilarating content to be doing. So finally happy to be back doing some features. 25.2, I will say one thing. I'm one of the few people that pushes back against this dialogue that Salesforce has not been pushing through features for Tableau, and I'll stand and die on that hill, because I do genuinely think since Salesforce acquired Tableau, we have seen some of the biggest features in Tableau desktop, in the Tableau ecosystem, come through out of the ideas page, where they've been stuck for many years, some even decades, and they're actually available in the product. Now, the throughput of that might be a different discussion, but for me at least, I think some of the changes are pretty significant. Just because Salesforce's marketing sort of angle talks more about Tableau Next and the future of Tableau than it does Tableau Desktop, doesn't mean these features aren't coming through. If you check out the Tableau Release Navigator, that is a pretty good place to see all the history and the, let's say provenance of some of the features over the last few months. So yeah, go ahead and check that out. I get comments all the time in my comments saying, hey, Tableau's dying. Hey, if it's dying, why are you watching? That's my response. Anyway, 25.2 is coming soon. Let's take a look at this. One of the things I like to do is just go here and immediately filter to desktop. I don't know why, but this is sort of my little pulse test to say, okay, what can I practically use on my laptop as soon as this drops? Instant Viz and Show Me, not so much of a great feature if you're a pro user, but quite handy if you're a new to Tableau, or you're still sort of learning your way through Tableau. This will actually allow you to build capabilities straight out of the gate. So Show Me did this for you already, but this one's actually going to choose dimensions and fields for you. So this is a nice feature. We'll come back to this in a second. Dynamic color ranges, this was nice. We saw this at Devs on Stage, so we can speak a bit to that. Dynamic spatial parameters, this is quite nice. So this I think is going to enhance some of the capabilities that we've seen in the past. Before, there was some limitations around this, so I think this has been enhanced. You can filter data by map viewpoint. Okay, so you can essentially pass, I can't talk today. Pass. I need to go to Yorkshire again. You can pass parameters into the viewport that will control the viewport, so you can essentially synchronize the viewport across two charts. That's quite nice, and that's just using parameters to basically control the zoom extent. So that's quite cool. Dynamic spatial parameters have kind of already been a thing. This is just, I think, extending that a little bit more. Tableau Agent incremental improvements, so small improvements to Tableau Agent inside a desktop. Palantir Foundry Connector. Palantir is one of these companies that you might have heard of. If you haven't, it's a pretty interesting company. There's quite a few podcasts I'll link to in the description that kind of talk really interestingly about what they do. They're very much an analytics company. They very much build analytics solutions, but their customer base are like governments and, very large multinational sort of customers, mostly governments. So what they do is pretty interesting. I think you should check them out. New connectors in Tableau Exchange, this is pretty standard, and Databricks connector updates as well. So these are the prominent updates for desktop. So really just these top three here, really just these two things: dynamic color ranges and dynamic spatial parameters. To be fair, dynamic color ranges, color is a very important part of Tableau, so getting that ability to have dynamic color ranges, have the context of the color change depending on what you select, that's going to be quite good. So let's remove that filter. And in this release, I do believe that there is no Tableau server update, because we just had it in the previous update. So 25.1 was the server update, and we're going to get another one in 25.3. So for those asking, we will not get a server update for 25.2. The reason this is in is I think it's because it's related to Tableau Cloud, but I don't know why it's been filtered to Tableau Server, so we'll have to come back to that in a minute. But sometimes connectors come through for the product product, even though the product's been released, because the connectors are backwards compatible. So if something comes out of the exchange, it tends to be backwards compatible a couple of versions, including old releases of server, if they kind of met the cutoff date for the Tableau extensions library. So back to the top, 25.2. What's in this release? Instant Viz Show Me. So what exactly is this? So if you look at this, this is very, very subtle. If you use Show Me today, you can go in, you can choose 2 dimensions or to whatever you want to visualize, and then you go to Show Me, and then you click on the chart and it builds it for you. This is more subtle. You can actually just go directly to the chart, hit the chart type, and it will choose the measures and dimensions for you. So it'll actually build the viz for you. So this is very much like using ChatGPT to say, here's my data, build me a pie chart, and it will go and find the relevant, let's say, pieces of data it's going to use and visualize that for you straight away. So this is quite nice. Really like it. Very simple. I think this can grow into something a little bit more powerful. I kind of think Show Me is really where AI should have made its first appearance inside of Tableau. I can't believe it wasn't. Show Me should have been the literal feature. Show me how to build X, show me how to do that. Show Me is, I think, what Tableau is all about. It's the fundamental brand. We didn't need sort of any agent. We didn't need anything. There's already a brand in the product that everyone knows how to use. It's Show Me. If you go and watch video tutorials from analysts who are doing videos on Tableau, who are not so new, you will see crimes against analytics being performed using Show Me. And so if anywhere you wanted to add AI, this would be the place to keep those kinds of users on track, doing the right things, building the right charts, and giving people ideas that stick to sort of visual best practice, but at the same time really teaches them how to do stuff. So that's been a big thing. I've actually made a video on how to use Show Me properly as well, so I'll link to that in the comments. Be sure to check that out. Right. Dynamic color ranges. This is kind of nice. So this is very nice. So what this is essentially ability where when you select a color range, the color range will change context depend on your selection. Where before you might have selected a few items and the color range was very narrow between that selection and you didn't really see much of a change. So being able to change that context just allows you to focus in on what matters with that selection. It's a really nice sort of user experience enhancement. It is a small thing, but it's a big thing at the same time. It's one of those things that most people won't realize unless they pay attention to it. But for a lot of analysts, this will be really important for helping users better understand what's going on. And I think end users will see this feature more than anyone else. Okay, let's go to dynamic spatial parameters. So this is quite nice. We've had spatial parameters inside of Tableau for a while now, but they really only supported a very small context. What this is doing is extending that to support viewports in maps. So viewport in a map is essentially the square that shows you the map. As you zoom in and zoom out, that viewport is basically maintaining a context of the level of zoom you're at and the location that's central to that view. So as you move your mouse around, as you move the spacebar and mouse around to move that view around the map, what's happening is that the map in itself is sort of moving behind that box. Those parameters, that metadata can now be shared to other maps on the same view, on the same dashboard, using parameters. So essentially Tableau storing those values in a parameter and then feeding them back to other charts. So it's just extending the capability of parameters. I first saw a prototype of this feature 5 years ago. And this is crazy. And I say this just to give you context of how long these things take to come through the product pipeline. Not because they're hard to do, but because they have to they have to navigate their way through the product pipeline. And I didn't see it as spatial parameters. I actually saw it as a separate project. I can't really talk about it because I was under NDA, but what I can say to you is I've seen this before. And the really interesting thing is that the magic that sits behind this is actually quite powerful. And I think this is, if I was to sort of hype it up a bit, this is just the beginning for that kind of capability. I think this kind of stuff is going to go absolutely wild if they keep pushing with parameters and sets in the direction I think they're going with this capability. I think this will be really powerful. So yeah, be sure to sort of stay dialed into that. Maybe in 2 years' time we'll see that kind of functionality, but it's really nice to see. Right, Tableau Pulse enhanced Q&A, metric filtering and comparisons. I will say this, Tableau Pulse has been on a tear, a bit like Tableau Pulse was a while back. Tableau Pulse, oh my God, I'm getting confused. Tableau Prep, sorry, was a while back. what's happening here is that they're just cranking stuff out. Every time I log into Tableau or go into Tableau LinkedIn or something like that, there's a new Tableau Pulse feature. So what I will say is that it's pretty hard to pay attention to these, and these releases are not when the features are actually announced. Some of these are already live and working today. So you'll see there's quite a few today. If I scroll down, you'll see that some of them will say, hey, this is already public. So if the first one is enhanced Q&A, metric filter, and comparison. So this is basically the Q&A capability, getting enhanced capability for metric filtering and comparisons. We've then got multilingual support in the Q&A, so supporting some of the other locales, which is pretty important. Tableau is a global tool. It's a global analytics tool. A lot of our teams are not based in Western English-speaking countries, so it's really important. Actually, the biggest community for at least my YouTube channel is actually in India. So localization is super important, because I think if you can build a product that can be used in parts of the world where actually a lot of this development is going on, that's also going to improve the quality of what people make. So yeah, Tableau Pulse, super important. Great to see the language capabilities pushing forward. The custom calendar in Tableau Pulse, this is actually quite handy. So with the Tableau Pulse datasets, when you set a context or a date, because it's essentially feeding off the data source, it's kind of hard to bring in what I would call custom fiscal years. So what they've done is they've added that calendar to Tableau Pulse. So your dataset can be your dataset, and you can give that dataset context inside of Tableau Pulse. And that means any metric that anyone creates off the back of that, when they start to talk in the language of the company about fiscal years and quarters and stuff, this can all be aligned nicely. So you can really dial this in, and you can lock that sort of into context. So you can set a reference date, you can set all that kind of customization in here. So this is going to be good. The custom calendar definitions, will be interesting to see how that's actually supported if you just give it a CSV with all the relevant context in a specific format. I have not played with that, but I think this is maybe out already as well, so go ahead and check that out. Tableau agent incremental improvements. So incremental improvements, very much what this is. So enhanced to better meet user needs and optimize the experience across the analytics journey, with improvements in areas like suggested questions and follow-up suggestions. So this to me just sounds like a model upgrade, essentially. All of these features are foundational features in models, and as you improve the quality of the model with responses and feedback, you kind of push that update straight out. So you'll get a lot of what are called incremental improvements. If you're following companies like OpenAI, they typically name these as new models, and what you see is incremental improvements, but actually in some areas it's massively better. The incremental improvement is all that was needed to make a big impact. So again, pretty nice. Tableau Pulse certify metric definition. So this is quite nice. The ability to certify a metric definition, to say, hey, not only is this coming from a certified data source, but it's also a certified metric. It's been built and set up in the correct way that we as a company are going to certify, so people can follow metrics that are certified, and they can know and trust these metrics, and they can sort of validate that this is all going on. What I'd love behind this is a sort of test and compare feature. So not only do you do certification, what you really want is a testing capability behind that to enable the certification. So maybe being able to build sort of functional tests or a test criteria in the background, so the certification can automatically be applied, and once it's there, you can have these tests running in the background, and if any one of them fails, the certification just goes maybe orange and says, hey, look, this has failed the last certification test, please stand by. The analytics team checks it. They'll say, okay, we've improved it, we've fixed the bug. They'll put a note of exactly what was broken, and you'll understand that the last time you saw the metric, there might have been an issue because something was broken, and you know why. I think being transparent about issues really builds trust. So really putting the testing capability alongside things like certification, I think is super important. Tableau Pulse configure decimal places. This is quite nice. So you can basically go and set up your decimal places here. I will do a video on these because these are very simple features. I'll maybe do these over the next few days. I'll just do like a Tableau Pulse, like what's happened in the last few months sort of update. You can sort of go ahead and check that out. So decimal place is pretty standard. I don't think I need to explain that to you. Tableau Pulse custom daily comparison. So this is kind of nice. You can let me double check I understand this. So tailoring the comparison to a date rather than the standard time ranges allows users to accurately compare changes to their data. Yeah, so this is kind of nice. So you can give it a specific date for the comparison, which is kind of nice. For some metrics, this makes a ton of sense because you might be comparing, let's say, two events that have happened, but they've not happened in any sort of, a definable period, like last year or last week or last whatever. You might need to be comparing like to a timeline rather than to a specific sort of time partition, as it were. So this is kind of nice. Tableau Pulse mute metrics from Insight Summary. So this is basically the idea of saying, hey, I don't want to see this in my Insight Summary. Again, very simple. They're really just adding what I would say quality of life improvements. My favorite term when I do these updates. Quality of life improvements really make this a proper sort of feature, if that makes sense. So I kind of wish Tableau came out with these out of the gate, because they know they need all these things, but whatever it is, time doesn't allow for it. So yeah, we get a trickle of these. So Tableau Pulse mobile filtering. So this is basically the ability to filter in mobile. I've not done much in the mobile app. We should definitely do that. I keep making lists of things I should be doing, but yeah, I'll come back to that at some other point. So those are all the Tableau Pulse update. I don't really know why Tableau Agent was in that sort of list. I think this is maybe the Tableau AI section, if that makes sense. So that's a ton of features, all very small. Again, if you're using Tableau Pulse, some of these features just come as standard. Some of them do need the Tableau Plus license, so be sure to make sure you get clarity on that, at least in the documentation, because I think some things used to be in the paid version and now are part of the free version, so be sure to check that out. Okay. Next, we have trusted Viz extension on Public. Safely experiment with partner built visualizations to bolster your storytelling. So Viz extensions branded as trusted in Tableau Exchange will be available for use in Tableau Public. So anything that's in the Viz extension library that is trusted from a partner will make its way to Tableau Public. I think this is a precursor to a change that's going to happen on Tableau Public that will let you use the stuff in Tableau Public itself. So that's pretty nice. Profile organization, manual categorization. So this is the ability to customize your profile in Tableau Public. Essentially, create your own themes. This is so important. What is happening here is, I think, let me say two things about Tableau Public. Number one, Tableau Public is an incredibly important part of Tableau. If you look at some of the creativity and everything that goes on, it's super important. What you have to understand, though, is that Tableau Public is a free product and Salesforce acquired Tableau. So everything that is going on to this day, in my opinion, has been stuff that people have been asking for, but it's also in service of making it a platform upon which Salesforce can build something on. So if I was to make a list of all the fundamental features that a social platform needed in order to make you invest time and energy into building your profile, creating content for it, and setting things up, all of these profile customizations would be a necessary part of that. You can't build a platform on top of that, a monetizable or sort of ecosystem or marketplace on top of that without it. So if you look at social platforms like Facebook or YouTube, this is the number one thing they did. They enabled you to build and customize your profile, set yourself up. And after you threw time and energy investing into your profile, they then build the model, the pricing model, and sort of monetizable model around it. So they'll bring things like letting you sell your own color palettes. So they've got an example here, letting you theme your content into different categories. They're letting you organize and speak to the things that you're good at, so you can then turn that into an asset in the future. So I think this is super important, but I just want to be sort of completely open with everyone to say, hey, look, this is a good change, but what will come after this is the monetization on top. Absolutely. It's almost guaranteed. We've seen it in Tableau Next. They talk about the marketplace a lot. That is definitely something they're going to do. So there is that. Now, what I will say, though, and I will say this very boldly to anyone from Tableau watching, I think the value of Tableau Public is bigger than anyone realizes. To me, the number one value is the value in the telemetry of Tableau Public. What people do in Tableau Public greatly speaks to the ways in which we push the boundaries of the product, more so than in desktop, because in desktop you get a very business-centric user who's generally using standard features, generally speaking. In Tableau Public, you get what I would call the boundary of what's possible. And so you should be looking to that to see what is really clunky that everyone's doing or having to do to get sort of this really high polished design, and how can we make that experience better? The telemetry around that is really important. And when a new feature comes out, let's say it's sets or parameters or anything like that, Tableau Public telemetry to me is where you go to find out what the uptake is on that feature and how well it's being used and what's being built around it. What are the other features being used in association with that feature? To me, these are all blindingly obvious sort of bits of value. And so if that was the only bit of value from Tableau Public and I was internal at Tableau, that's what I would actually lean on a ton more. And I wouldn't worry so much about monetizing it, because you will lose a lot of that context. And let me be clear, like, people are not good at articulating features they need, but with the telemetry you'll see a lot of patterns and uses from a whole body of people, including those who aren't vocal in the community, about the way they use the product. So that's my little sort of eulogy or whatever for Tableau Public before it changes massively. But anyway, Content Exploration Hub, Recommender tab. Oh, this is new. I don't know what this is. So this is again Tableau Public. Okay, a one-stop shop of relevant and inspirational content, centralized place for users to discover content, access learning resources, and connect with the data fam. Interesting. Okay, so what am I missing here? So I think it's this thing on the right hand side. So this this little hub, I think it's basically like an engine that's surfacing content. Again, another part of the, like, you know, hey, we're going to build an ecosystem here, we need to build all the social features on top of it. So that's pretty important. Actually a ton of Tableau Public changes here. So author empowerment, quick wins, build connections and grow your community like never before with improved visibility. Authors can grow their following and see who's interacted with their visualization, and the author preview card makes it easy to navigate and discover author profiles. So this is kind of cool. So you can follow and view profile. Hey, just more social elements. I'm telling you, it's coming. Multiple external IDPs for SCIM on a site. Oh god. Now I remember I did this, and Matt, if you're watching, yeah, I'm going to get this wrong again. I remember you dropped something in the comments basically highlighting that I didn't understand this, and truthfully I still don't understand it. So I'm going to read this description, but go easy on me if I don't get it right. Okay, so multiple external IDPs, I know what that is, identity providers, for SCIM on a site. Okay, so let me try and see if we can get this right. So cross-domain identity management is essentially what SCIM means. So system for cross-domain identity management, SCIM. I think it's good that Tableau put this here. I don't know why they don't put it in the marketing. It's in the product, but it's not in the marketing. Nowhere in the marketing does it tell you what SCIM is, and then it actually has in the product. So they should flip that around. Tell you in the marketing and don't bother repeating it in the product. But anyway, provisions users and groups to Tableau using your identity provider. So your identity provider can be one of many things. You can see a list here. So for example, Okta is a pretty common one. You do get others that are sort of pretty prevalent, but I think Okta tends to be, truthfully, that's the only one that I've ever come across. I think some of the other identity providers you get come from companies like Microsoft, not Active Directory specifically, but I think there is an identity provider sort of mechanism within that. AWS will have its own as well. So those are the sort of top level sort of identity provider setups that you get. In AWS, it's, I think, goes through AIM, which is the identity something management. But anyway, Tableau now has multiple IDP support for authentication support, supporting user and group provisioning scenarios through standards compliant SIM2 features. Admins can enable up to 20 IDPs for SCIM on a site to establish a connection between their IDP and Tableau cloud site. So this is also interesting because I think it allows you to have different ways of authenticating on a site. So for those who have Okta, they can go in through that. For those who have external providers, for example, here they have an internal employees and partners. So you can have different people go through different identity providing systems, and that also is good for security because you can have your external partners go through something else that is more compliant for bring your own device like setups, and you can have employees go through their device and have to use company hardware and systems in order to work in the VPN and all that. So that's all kind of baked into that. So this is really just more support for an enterprise setup, especially on Tableau Cloud, which is where this features a big deal. On Tableau Server, this is less important because you would typically have everyone under the same roof anyway, and you would provision sort of external providers differently on Tableau Server compared to something like Tableau Cloud. Okay. Oh, my mouse has stopped working. Tableau Exchange and Tableau Cloud. Okay, so The following Tableau Exchange connectors are now compatible: Tableau Bridge, MotherDuck, DuckDB, DBT Semantic Layer, and StarRock. So some of these were already compatible with Tableau Server. They're bringing those to Tableau Cloud. Nice and simple. Palantir Foundry connector, very simple Palantir Foundry connector. It's a connector for Palantir Foundry. I mentioned go check out Palantir. I'll link to the blog post where they talk about what they do. It's super interesting, but also super secretive. New connectors in Tableau Exchange. We touched on this already. CD Data Virtuality, MongoDB SQL Interface, MotherDuck, DuckDB, and StarRock's connectors are now available. Single-use refresh tokens. So these are kind of nice. So Tableau now handles single-use refresh tokens to optimize users' data connectivity experience for Box.com and Databricks connectors. Once you have OAuth credentials for a data source, Tableau would automatically handle a refresh token rotation. Customers and partners can also enable this capability in their connectors developed using the Tableau Connector SDK. So this is a broad capability around connectors. It essentially allows for the handling of authentication and access to a data source in one place, but it's built through the data connector. And this is, I think, partly to enable what I would call the cloud-based data sources to not have to keep doing authentication behind the scenes to make sure you can see what you're seeing. But yeah, I think this is one of those things where I think this enables a bunch of other things that we're seeing. So I wouldn't be surprised if some of the DBT and the Box.com and the Databricks connectors have been enabled by this as well. Ping Federate support with SCIM. Okay. Ping Federate. This just gets more dry and more dry as I scroll down. Please help me. How many more lines have I got? Okay, come on, we will get there. In addition to Microsoft Entra ID, Okta, and OneLogin, admins can now configure SCIM with the identity provider IDP, Ping Federate, and get guidance and support from your IDP and Tableau to get the configuration working. So basically, Ping Federate is an IDP, identity provider, and SCIM is now supported with Ping Federate. So this is almost like SCIM was necessary to enable things like Ping Federate and Okta and all those likes to sort of all work together. So that's good. Tableau Cloud Manager, you can now merge tenants. The merge tenant feature allows you to combine multiple Tableau Cloud Manager tenants under one TCM tenant so that you can enjoy the full benefits of TCM. So basically, if you had multiple Tableau Cloud sites before Tableau Cloud Manager, this allows you to merge the tenancy of those Tableau Cloud sites. I think that's basically how I would have actually written this. This is not some of these are written so dry. So the merge tenant feature allows you to combine multiple Tableau Cloud Manager tenants. No, just call it sites under one TCM Tableau Cloud Manager tenant. Yeah, I would have written this entirely differently. Sorry to overwrite this, but yeah. Combine multiple Tableau Cloud Manager sites under one Tableau Cloud Manager tenant. That to me makes more sense, so that you can enjoy the full benefits of Tableau Cloud Manager. Also available to non-multi-site SKU customers with the business needs, such as acquisitions or sandboxes. Oh, this is nice to combine separate Tableau Cloud managers. So this is actually quite cool. I've been in scenarios where two companies have a merger. They both had Tableau Cloud, and now they're stuck with their Tableau Cloud instances because there's no real way to move the stuff across, and the sort of migration tools aren't great. So this would allow them to continue function as almost as separate orgs, but bring the tenancy under one roof. And I think there'd be a nice way for licenses to sort of work. So this again sounds like an enterprise feature that Tableau definitely needed themselves, and now they have something. So there's a note here: multi-site SKU customers with several TCM tenants can contact their account team to initiate the process of moving off the multi-site SKU and merging their tenants. So basically talk to licensing and we'll figure out how to manage your licensing under one roof. Okay, during conference, we saw this feature at Devs on Stage, a tablet app for Google Workspace, essentially a tool that allows you to bring in Google Workspace, tablet assets into the Google Workspace. Now, what we saw was in Excel, but what this is showing us is something very interesting, which is a Tableau Pulse chart inside of Google Docs. How is this not coming out first for Microsoft Office? Like, come on. We need a Tableau app for Microsoft Office. That surely has to be next. So reduce the necessary process with a new version of Tableau app for Google Workspace. It provides a native Tableau interface within Google Docs and Google Slides so that one click you can embed visits or pulse metrics and refresh the content when you need it. You know what? I don't know if anyone remembers, but one of the biggest sponsors at Tableau conference was Rollstack. And I found it really interesting that Rollstack were there. Their whole thing is that they allow you to put Tableau stuff into PowerPoints and all of that stuff. And then Tableau come out with this, which to me just Sherlock's that, at least for the Google Workspace customer. So yeah, I've always found this stuff interesting. Or maybe these are completely different and they do different things. The one thing I'd love to understand is once you insert the graphic, does it stay up to date? So does the plugin actually keep everything up to date, or is it a static addition? So it's a one-time addition that's in your document, and then you send it off, and that's it. I'd love it if you had the option to update all of these assets as you brought them in, so they're just not just sort of static. Maybe even a deck. It would make Google Slides a really good place to do your presentations, because it would naturally just have all the content you need and the visualization in one space. Okay, Tableau Cloud Switzerland region. This is just basically adding a Switzerland region. This is important for Tableau Cloud customers who maybe have very strict restrictions around banking and finance based in Switzerland. This is the example I know. Big company like UBS, those kinds of customers who have to base their banking in Switzerland for various reasons. This is kind of nice to be able to have your data and your server running in Switzerland. So you can say nothing leaves Switzerland and meet a bunch of compliance benefits. So yeah, Private Connect, additional connectors. So I've not done enough on Private Connect. There's a whole world of stuff I think I need to sort of dive into, which is still quite new to me. Private Connect is new as of 25.1, I believe, and I've not done enough to really understand how it works. But my gut instinct is that basically Private Connect is a custom way of connecting to specific data sources inside of AWS. And instead of using Tableau Bridge, what you're doing is you're creating a little pipe inside of the AWS infrastructure to go directly to those databases, hence the term Private Connect. You are connecting to these data sources, but you're doing it through a very secure, let's say, telephone line between Tableau Cloud and your AWS credentials. That's why it uses a bunch of AWS capability like AWS Private Link. So yeah, it is specifically for hosted databases in AWS, and Private Link gives you that ability to be able to sort of push forward. So yeah, that's quite cool. Tableau Cloud PCI compliance, secure payment card industry data. So customers within financial services sector can now leverage Salesforce Hyperforce controls and implement additional safeguards within your Tableau Cloud environment to meet PCI 4 requirements and analyze PCI protected data. I'd love to know what the Hyperforce controls is. This again feels like it's been written by someone who just assumes everyone knows what Hyperforce is, and B, understands what the Hyperforce controls are. I'll have to Google that, and when maybe I do the video, we'll learn more a bit about that. So that's kind of nice. Session recovery improvements. So this is basically when you're using a view, and the session is basically the time from which you start using that view and to the time you leave. So you might leave the tab open for a long time, use it every sort of 2 to 3 minutes, then leave it running for a while. And if you leave it running for long enough, the session ends, and when you come back to the tab, the session starts again. So a session is strictly speaking just you actually interacting with the viz and using it for a period of time. So this one is essentially an enhancement to that, I believe. So Tableau extended offline visualization interactivity for users during session recovery. Even for large vizzes, minimize downtime, especially in times sensitive scenarios like presentations, and avoid getting error banners. So basically what this is saying is that if you leave a viz unused for a while because you're presenting or doing something, you used to get this thing where you go to use the viz and then it refreshes the whole thing and you've lost all the sort of setups that you've got and you have to go back and set it up again. Basically, this is going to catch that more gracefully and it will reconnect and try and persist the session that you were having rather than trying to sort of reset everything. The button will inform you of the reconnect status, while interactions requiring server commands will be disabled until the connection is restored. So it will restore the connection rather than resetting the view, which is kind of nice. Resource monitoring tool, user management automation. So Tableau created a new set of commands to allow customers to leverage their implementations in Active Directory or LDAP services to provision, authorize, and decommission users in resource monitoring tool. So basically, resource monitoring tool getting some user management features. Pretty nice. Admin insights, expanded availability. So access admin insights for sites created under the developer, Tableau for teaching, or partner programs. That's actually quite important because in the developer program, it's actually quite hard to get these and see them and sort of play around with them. So it's great that they have this being sort of extended out so you can actually A, understand what they do, but B, also use them. And it's kind of a really nice feature because they don't have to do that. The developer stuff is kind of given away for free. So That's interesting. The admin insights, data sources, and workbooks will automatically be deployed to these additional site types. No need to contact Tableau, so they'll just do it. There's no need to message. You had to previously, I think, send a request to Tableau to enable these. I think now it's just done, so you don't have to. Removing a step. Schedule details. So admins can see dashboard subscription schedules and determine which should be moved to another time of day to alleviate congestion. The additional fields describing the pertinent schedule information for each subscription are available in the subscriptions data source in admin insights, allowing admins to analyze it and take actions. So that's kind of nice. So it's a new data source really that talks to subscriptions. So that's kind of cool. Okay, performance insights dashboards. Again, another bit of performance perspective. So analyze dashboard performance with new built-in report that quickly provides dashboard insights in a user-friendly Tableau cloud interface. Admins can now filter by specific workbooks and analyze which visualizations impact load times to identify and troubleshoot slow-performing dashboards. Okay. Additional activity log events. So activity log is a advanced management capability. You need Enterprise or Tableau Plus, the license, to get activity log. As part of that, there's additional events that it's now logging. So improve resource management and monitoring and maintain security compliance certifications with additional event types. Available to support the private connect, recycle bin, and prep endpoint control features. So basically, they're adding activity logs around some of the new stuff that's been deployed. Tab GPT configuration changes as well. Tab GPT. What is Tab GPT? Did I completely miss something? Tab GPT. I have no idea what that is. Admins can ingest these logs into SCIM, another acronym that no one knows what it is. So I have no idea what that is. SCIM monitoring tools. That must be like a capability, like an industry standard for monitoring this kind of stuff, or import them to analytical data warehouses for reporting. So basically, I think this is like a monitoring tool that you put on top of your entire sort of infrastructure, and it sucks up all these logs and it gives you some sort of context. But I have no clue what SCIM means. More activity log goodness, view interactions. So you can get all of this wonderful data about a view. During the Tableau devs on stage, they showed us a dashboard based off this data, but they didn't say the dashboard was a feature. What they said is that the data is the feature. So here's the data. You're going to have to pass this data into a useful format to be able to create it. But I think this is kind of good for activity log view. Just being able to say, hey, look, this specific user went in, they looked at a view. This is how long they were in that view, and here's how long the session was. Here's the workbook name. This is really super powerful, and you can dump all of these in a bucket and then ingest that into some sort of log drinking process, and away you go. Embedded React component for development teams looking to embed Tableau in their custom React applications. The Node Package Manager NPM package is now available for you to install and connect to your Tableau cloud instances. Cool. So React is a specific capability. It was built by Facebook. As part of that, you typically deploy these things called node packages. So a node package is actually not related to React, but it's the two typically come in hand because you need a node package to set up the specific, let's say, environment correctly, and the React component then uses whatever's been set up through this package. This is a deployment sort of technology in order to work. Databricks connector updates. So, this is nice. They've blurred out the stuff that doesn't matter, and they've highlighted exactly what's new. So simplify connectivity, very nice, and easy discoverability. Cool. So basically, better connector. Nice and simple. Flow ownership changes. So in Tableau Prep, with flow ownership changes, admins or current owners can pass controls to others with just a couple of clicks, avoiding the hassle of waiting for flow runs to finish. Oh, this is cool. Plus, you can cancel in-progress runs whenever needed, making flow management more flexible and stress-free. That is nice. Tableau Next and Slack integration. So this is basically the two of them just sort of moving hand in hand. We need to do something separate for Tableau Next and Tableau Semantics, so I won't go too much into detail here, but we've seen lots of demos with Tableau Next and Slack, and this is pretty much that. Tableau Next Data Pro. It's very interesting. They've bundled this in right at the end. They're like, we know you don't care, so we'll just put them at the bottom. So Tableau Semantics is very cool. I've actually had access to Tableau Next for a little bit now. I have not done a video on it because kind of under NDA, and I need to kind of wait for the right time to be able to talk about it. But yeah, I think it's pretty interesting and pretty cool. Tableau Concierge. This is again something that's available inside of Tableau Next. So again, we'll talk about this as and when that experience is broadly available, and we can more easily access it and talk about it. You can see the screenshots here from the beta. Not everyone has access to the beta, but absolutely soon that's something that we'll be talking about a lot of. So how long have we been going here? 40 minutes. I tried to do my best. I tried to race through it. I tried to give as much context as I possibly can, but that is 25.2. How do I feel about this update? I think this is a 6 out of 10 update. Some big features, really good features, but you know, a lot of dry features as well. Generally a lot of sort of enterprise management features, which your admins are going to love, but the problem with them is they're very specific. If you weren't asking for them, a lot of them might not be useful to you. So if I look through this list, if I just go through this from a product by product perspective, let's say I'm a Tableau Prep user, I look at it and I'm like, oof, that's pretty light, just mostly connectors and no real feature updates, right? If I'm desktop and I'm a big spatial fan, great, I can actually do a lot with spatial parameters. But if I'm not doing spatial analytics in my company, all I have is really dynamic color ranges and instant viz and show me. So on one hand, I love that these features are coming through. On the other, that note I made about throughput, pretty important. So you can see the throughput isn't what we used to. If you go back in the day, I remember using like scrolling down and having like four or five banks of desktop features, and like the top 6 were all bangers, if that makes sense. So I don't want to say those were the good old days, because things are definitely changing, but nonetheless, I do kind of miss that kind of density of capability. So that's pretty much it. That's done. 25.2. That's me done. I'm going to do as minimal editing on this. I really apologize for that, but I just have to be sort of pragmatic. I'm trying to do a bit of a channel reset. I'm trying to approach all this stuff new, but at the same time, the easiest way to sort of get through some of this stuff is just to do it the way I've always been doing it. So please bear with me. You might be seeing shorts coming from this video. So if you follow this video and you've watched it in full, don't be put off by the shorts. You can watch them. They're little short snippets you can share with people as well. So let me know what you think of them. I think I'd be intrigued to see what you think of that. So yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.